Konnichiwa. Oh, I do miss Japan. It has some of the most iconic scenery in the world. And places like Nikko, Kyoto, and Osaka are world famous for their parks and floral gardens. Japanese people take a lot of pride in their gardens, and rightly so, as they take much effort in creating these marvelous works of art, which not only represent microcosms of the natural world, but which are also designed for relaxation, meditation, and contemplation. Safe refuges to spend some quiet time from a busy and hectic world. One of the most important things to be placed in a Japanese-style garden is something called a Shishi Odoshi. In English, deer chaser or deer scarer. Originally used by farmers to frighten deer away from their crops, they are now important aesthetic fixtures in any Japanese garden and are used as a type of sozu or water fountain. Japanese gardens are meant to be quiet, so one would think the repetitive, sudden sounds emanating from deer chasers would be forbidden in this type of environment. But contrary to its name, the sound it makes is not harsh, but relaxing, a perfect addition to any Japanese garden. A place meant to refresh one's mind and spirit. As one of the few things in a Japanese garden that breaks the silence, they are meant to remind one of the passage of time, the importance of enjoying the present moment, and the balance of nature. The basic components of a deer chaser are the tilting water pipe, a stand which holds it up, a water delivery system, and a sounding board that makes the distinctive thumping sound. Many deer chasers are set up in ponds, but a Shishi Odoshi can be set up on dry ground if a water reservoir, such as a large bowl, is used. If you would like to have a deer chaser, but cannot go all the way to Japan to buy one, I can show you how to make one mostly using materials you may already have lying around your house. Its construction is not all that difficult, nor is it expensive to make. Not only will a Shishi Odoshi make an interesting addition to your yard, but its distinctive sounds may help you to relax after a hard day's work. Consider this as a gift from me and from the people of Japan. じゃあ、始めましょう. Let's get started. For my main deer chaser pipe, I'm going to be using a 2-inch diameter piece of scrap PVC I had laying around. This particular piece is about 5 feet long, so I'm going to have to cut it into a 3-foot length. Now, normal deer chasers in Japan are about 2 inches in diameter, which is pretty much equivalent to the 2-inch PVC which I have. However, because Japanese deer chasers are made from bamboo, bamboo has what are called nodes between the hollow sections of the bamboo, and these nodes are basically solid walls, and these are meant to not only be structural supports for the bamboo, but they are also the growth points for the growing bamboo. Now, deer chasers in Japan are cut just behind one node, so we have a solid wall here, and then there's generally one solid wall here and another one here. And on the end here, the deer chasers are cut at an angle to catch the water from the outlet pipe. Now on my PVC, I do not have any nodes, of course, so I'm going to have to construct some. I do not need this node, but I do need this one because this is the one that's going to catch the water. Okay, I've cut my 2-inch PVC to about 2 feet 8 inches long and beveled one end of it. And now I'm going to drill a hole approximately in the middle for the pivot point. Now that I've marked the area where my pivot's going to be, I'm drilling initially some small pilot holes to facilitate the drilling of the larger bit. Now that I've got some larger holes drilled, I'm going to test my pipe. As you can see, the pipe will tilt towards the back end of the pipe. This is because I've taken off some of the front and it's not exactly the same weight as the back of the pipe. So this is good. Now I just have to increase the diameter of the hole and insert my pivot. I happen to find an old broom handle laying around, and this is solid wood, so it would make a nice pivot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this to length and make the hole in my pipe the same diameter as my pivot. Okay, I've finished drilling the hole with a 3/4 inch spade bit, which is fortunately about the same diameter as my pivot. And I hammered in the pivot into the pipe, and I'm going to cut it off at about 7 inches. Okay, I've inserted my broom handle into my 2-inch pipe, and I've cut it off at about 3 inches on each side. And now I have my pivot, and I'm going to keep the rest of my broom handle because I'm going to be needing that later. The next thing I'm going to do is work on my plugs for the inside of my 2-inch pipe. Now I'm going to be making some plugs for my PVC pipe. I'm going to be making 3 of them. I only really need 2, but I'll be making 3, and I'll show you why later. To make a rough cut, I'm just putting a nail in the center of this piece of wood and drawing an inch radius on the piece of wood to make a circle. And I'm going to make a rough cut on the circle and sand it down to fit. Okay, I've finished making my 3 plugs, and you can see why I've made 3. This plug here will be put on the end of the pipe, and this one I made into a spool. I'm not going to just insert one plug into the inside of my pipe because it may twist and not seal properly. So what I did, I made a spool of 2 plugs, which should help seal it a little bit better, and this way also it won't twist inside the pipe. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a generous supply of caulk around my discs here to help seal it, and then I'm going to put it inside the pipe like this and push it all the way down to this mark here. Now I've put a generous amount of caulk on both ends of the spool, And now I'm going to shove it down the end of the pipe to a point about 9 inches from the end of the beveled end. And I'm going to be using my leftover broom handle as a push rod to push it down. If you happen to push a little bit too far with the push rod, all you have to do is turn your pipe around, and since this end here is open, you can just push it back a little bit with the push rod. Now, to ensure a good seal, I'm going to add more caulk to the inside of my pipe, and then I'm going to tamp it down with the push rod. That should ensure me a pretty good seal. Once the spool is in place, I'm just going to wipe off the excess caulk around the end of the pipe. This is kind of messy, so you might want to wear gloves while doing this procedure. Now my water pipe is going to need something to hold it up and also something for it to swivel on. So I took a 3-foot length of 2x4 and I ripped it in half to give me two 3-foot lengths that are about an inch or an inch and a half wide. And at one end I drilled some holes with a 1-inch spade bit that will be large enough for the pivots of my water pipe. I'm also going to need some rigid supports for my two uprights, so after drilling 2 sets of pilot holes just down from the swivel points, this one's maybe 5 inches or so, this one's maybe about a foot, I'm going to use a 3/4 inch spade bit, and that will fit my pieces of leftover broom handle that I had that I used for my pivot up here. And I'm going to insert these into these holes here and affix them with some wood glue, and that will give me some fixed points for my uprights. Now I've put some wood glue in the sockets for my struts here, and I've also, oh, this is my new dog, by the way, Huckleberry. Okay, and I put some I put some 2.5-inch screws in the ends of the struts so they will be a little bit more secure. And essentially this deer chaser fixture is complete. All I have to do now is put on the end, and I'm not going to do that right now. I'll show you why later. I didn't get the vertical struts exactly parallel. I'm not really a great carpenter, but I guess it's good enough for government work. And now I can start working on some other parts of my deer chaser. Now that I've got my deer chaser pretty much together, it's time to paint it. Now, paint does not stick very well to PVC because it's a smooth surface, so I got myself some all-surface primer, and I'm going to paint the PVC with that, and then I will use a primer paint to paint over everything. Okay, I've put a coat of primer on my PVC pipe tube and let it dry, and now I'm ready to paint my deer chaser fixture. I happened to find some paint in the store that was half price the other day, and it turns out it's about the same color as bamboo. This one's called Toasted Almond, which is pretty close to the color of bamboo. So I'm going to be painting my deer chaser that color. Okay, I've finished painting my new deer chaser. The color is a little bit lighter than what is normally on the bamboo, but it's acceptable. And now, as you know, bamboo has nodes at intervals along its length. So if I wanted to replicate those, I'm going to put some zip ties around my tube. I'm putting one here, and one on the end. The next thing I'm going to do is put some lacquer on my tube. Now that I've got my deer chaser lacquered, it's pretty much complete. The lacquer has yellowed it a little bit better, so now it looks a little bit more like bamboo. Now that I've got my deer chaser together and painted, I'm going to put it in the ground. So I've made a couple of stakes and painted them the same color as my deer chaser, and I'm going to attach it to the inside of my deer chaser legs so I can stick it into the ground. Okay, I've got my two stakes attached to the insides of my deer chaser legs, and now all I have to do is find a suitable location and pound it into the ground. Now I'm going to need a water catchment basin for my deer chaser, so you can use any container you want as long as it holds water. But I made myself a 1 foot by 2 foot wooden box out of some scrap lumber, and I sealed it with some caulk. And what I'm going to do is probably put some window screen mesh on the top, because eventually this thing is going to start collecting leaves, and I don't want that to happen. So I could probably use it like this, but I think I'll put some window screen on top of it just for a little bit more cleanliness in my container. Now that I've got my deer chaser set up and pounded into the ground and my water basin in place, I'm going to make the sounding board right here. Now in Japan, they use stone for this purpose, and that's what gives the deer chaser its distinctive thumping sound. But where I live, I do not have stone, so I'm going to substitute a piece of 2x4. Okay, I've made my stake, which is about 3 feet long, and I've pointed the end so I can pound it into the ground. And I'm going to put it just at the end of my deer chaser here. But before I do that, I'm going to paint it the same color as my deer chaser. Okay, I've installed the vertical sounding board at the far end of the deer chaser pipe. And the deer chaser pipe should be somewhat at this angle, maybe a little bit more vertical. Now, when the water is entered into this end of the pipe here, of course the pipe is going to go this way and dump the water. And the pipe will automatically come back and hit the board and make some kind of a sound. But it's not doing that right now because the weight is not correct. So I'm going to add a counterweight on this side here, and then I'm going to put a plug in it. Now I have decided as a counterweight to use just a bag of small pebbles. It's easily put into the tube on the end, and I can adjust the weight by adding and subtracting rocks. And I will staple that to the end of the tube so it can't move. Now in Japan, deer chasers are made out of bamboo, and this is PVC, so I think the sound will be a little bit different. As you can see here, when it hits the post, it doesn't make much of a sound. So what I decided to do was construct a small improvised resonance chamber. It's just a small box with an open end, and I'm going to put it on top of the post, and that should help increase the sound of my deer chaser. Okay, I've installed the prototype of my resonance chamber, and let's see what happens. Oh yeah, that's much better. As you can see, the sound is much louder than before. So I think I'll keep this resonance chamber here, make a better copy, and put the plug in, and I think this end should be finished. Okay, I've made a final copy of my resonance chamber, which I've installed on my post and painted it the same color as everything else. And the sound is a lot better. And put the plug back in, and this end of the pipe is done. Now I'm going to move to the front of my deer chaser, and I'm going to install my water delivery system. First, I cut about a 3-foot length of 1x2 and put a support bracket on it for an extension, and I'm going to drive this into the ground. And then I also cut about a 3-foot length of 1/2 inch PVC, and I'm going to install this at the front of my support bracket. Now, before I paint my water delivery pipe, I've drilled a small hole near the top end for my secondary pipe, which is just a small pen case. Pen cases are really nice because they're beveled at one end, so we can just slip very easily into the hole. And I'm going to put it at a slight angle, and I'm going to glue it down with some glue, and I'm also going to stop up the top of the hole at the top of the pipe, because the water will be coming through this way, and if I don't stop up the top, it's going to come out the top of the pipe. Okay, I've finished installing my water delivery pipe and my support bracket for it, and I've painted everything the same color as the deer chaser, so now it's all the same color. I've finished installing my secondary pipe, and I've put it down at a slight angle so gravity will bring the water out, and I've put some super glue on it to hold it. You might remember my support bracket here. I've also installed a second support bracket here to keep my pipe vertical, and I've put some L brackets on it to hold it, and I've put in a screw on my vertical support to hold it up. And now the only thing else I have to do here is put in my plug at the top, and I've been looking around for something to put in this hole, and I just happened to find an old foam brush laying around, that's old used one that I was going to throw away, but guess what, it fits perfectly into my water delivery pipe, so now I've got my plug. Now this is one reason I hate to throw anything away. I never know when something's going to be useful around here. So all I have to do is cut this to length and put in some caulk to seal it. And then this should be pretty much finished. Okay, I've sealed the top of my water delivery pipe, and now this deer chaser is finished. Now you might remember that I built this whole thing out of just odds and ends I had laying around the house. So this deer chaser was free. Didn't cost me anything. The only thing I'm going to need to buy is a water pump. Now I bought a water pump online. It cost me about $30. It's a solar water pump, and it comes with various parts, but the parts I'm going to be using are the solar panel and of course the pump itself, which is right here. It's a small pump. It's a 4-watt pump, and I'm going to need a small delivery tube which goes in the bottom of my water delivery pipe. So I attached the pump to the pipe that came with the pump and put it inside my pipe and sealed the bottom so the water couldn't come out again. But it was a nice fit. This tube fit very nicely inside the bottom of my pipe. And now all I have to do is put some water in my reservoir and put my solar panel in the sunlight, because this does not work in shade. And we'll see if it works. Okay, it's all set. Now I'm going to plug it into the solar panel and see if it works. Got my fingers crossed. Ah! できた! できた! よかったな! ほらほら! 動いてる! 動いてる! なあ! Oh, sorry. I was slipping back into my Japanese again. Basically what I said was, Eureka! It works! Yay! My deer chaser works. I hope I have encouraged you to try making this simple yet inspiring symbol of the Japanese culture. And perhaps someday I will have the good fortune to hear the distinctive sound of a deer chaser that was inspired by this video. I look forward to that. Thanks for watching, and see you next time at Home Improvements.